to all the dispossessed youth of Africa, for perpetuation of communion with ancestral spirits through the fight for African freedom, and in the firm faith that the dead, the living, and the unborn will unite to build the destroyed shrines. Selah. Hello and welcome, beloveds, to another episode of Wake Up Africa. My name is Dr. Mumbi Saraki. How you doing? How's everything going? I really do pray that you are well in all your ways and that you're moving into living life truly on your own terms. Thanks to everyone that subscribed to the channel, beloveds. Go ahead and subscribe if you haven't already. Thanks for liking and sharing the videos. Yeah, it's like we're gaining momentum, and it's absolutely a beautiful thing. We are in a new era. We've stopped reporting the news, although we do we report it from a spiritual perspective whenever led to, just to point to us about, the great reformation that is already taking place on the spiritual realm, where if you are open, if you are willing, and if you are, self-disciplined, then the spirit of the ancestors and the spirit of the Most High will work with you to decolonize your mind and move you into an absolutely new reality, because we're not approaching anything. We're already at a major crossroads, beloveds, where you choose to, major choices are before you, choices where you can expand your consciousness and return to the origins of your bloodline, or where you can cap your consciousness by participating in an experiment, etc., and then limit, your ability to take advantage of the wonderful new possibilities and reality and world that is emerging for us that have connected with our ancestors and returned to our roots. I'm telling you, beloveds, it's just like it's signs and wonders. It's miraculous. I can't even describe it. Many of the chosen ones are, some are still stuck in the matrix, trying to get out, but many are building, and spending more time in nature, and it's just naturally changing them. And I think it's very important that as we start to, as we continue in earnest to decolonize our minds, that we recognize how that colonization happened in the first place, because I think we've taken it very shallow and lightly, and that's how Babylon has done it, because Babylon is the one who has been always describing what the slavery process was like. Babylon is the one who created the narrative of what colonialism was like, and even what our lives were like before colonialism. So many of us grew up thinking that, our ancestors were these illiterate, ignorant people just living wild lives in the forest, and then Babylon came as the savior through the Christian military industrial complex and totally colonized us mentally and spiritually. But that's not the story they tell us. They tell us they came as our saviors to give us this and to give us that, to give us beds. Beds are terrible for you. To give us, all these things, technologies that we already had in our own way. We had already defined our lives in our own way. But the way Babylon was able to do this is that they gave themselves the power of definition. And so they came and they tore down all our shrines, and then named the mountains after them, named the rivers after them, and to the point where now 3 generations down, many of our people don't even know the original names of our rivers and our lakes and our mountains. We just have the Babylon name. And that power of definition gave them power over this planet, because they overlaid their mental reality over everyone. And they whitewashed everything. They rewrote everything. But you see, who you define, you own, beloveds, because that definition falls under your vibration. So the fact that we allowed Babylon to come into, Eden and rename everything from our nations, breaking down our nation, creating these false countries that we're still in today. And what happened is that spiritually, when we wanted to manifest something, it's like, we jam because you're in this foreign complex. So spiritually, you come down and you're like in this alien, literally an alien world. where none of the words trigger anything in you. Because you see, the way we learned, beloveds, was that there were words we would hear. There were initiations that spirit would take us through, and is taking many through through today. Hey, but there were words and spirit, and all of those words, having been used for millions of years, would re-trigger something that our ancestors had left, the secrets they left in the mountains, the secrets they left in the rivers. All of them were in their words. So when they took the power of definition from us, it's like they took Zion from us physically, hoping that they could penetrate and get Zion spiritually. That's what this whole thing has been about. It's like if we physically define everything and get everyone into our physical realm, then maybe we can actually penetrate the spiritual realm and rule there. I mean, it can never happen. But what has happened, what has manifested from their experiment is that now, our spiritual power, because we're spiritual beings having a human experience. And when our spiritual beings come here, they can't flow spiritually because everything is a foreign name. So it's just like you're being taught a language that has no power for you. So you can't tap into anything, It's like being taught French and then going to an English school and not having any kind of, English lessons or anything, just going in and going into math and going into science, It's going to be like, what? That's how we are. And you see, we didn't understand it. It's taken us so long to understand what was going on. And, many can think that we as a people are spiritually naive because we keep thinking, how could this happen spiritually? But it's because we're the highest. So for someone to use this kind of spiritual manipulation that Babylon has used, I mean, the consequences are ridiculously insane for anyone of a higher spiritual vibration, for any spirit man or spirit woman to ever want to do any of what Babylon has done, because the judgment will be severe. And we're not here for the judgment on them, but we're here to tell you, get out. You don't have to suffer the judgment. You have been in a mass confusion, in a world that is overlaid. Like, this is our world, but we're looking at it with like Muzungu eyes. So we're not going to see anything. It's better to even sit silent and quiet your mind and just sit in nature and watch a tree or watch a river flow by. But the fact, the power of definition, where even we were defined by them, and are still, the majority of our people are still defined by them. They carry those foreign names. Anything that defines you owns you. When you name something, it's like you're trying to capture that thing. Why would the Mzungu come and rename our rivers and lakes? Why did it matter so much? Ask yourselves that, beloveds. Why did they take their Queen Victoria and have her named in every single Lake Victoria, Victoria Falls? Why was it so important for them to capture? It's like they overlaid the spirit of, all those, because our power is in nature, beloveds. And so they overlaid our power with all these foreign names. You think this isn't some Crowley agenda? And then got the people, beat these names into the people. So that, generation after generation didn't even know the names of the things. And if you don't know the name of something, you can't call it. Like, if you don't know I'm called Mumbi, I'm not going to respond to you. We're in an interactive spiritual world, beloveds. Let's take a short break. We'll be right back.
Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, Africa.
Welcome back, beloveds, to Wake Up Africa. My name is Dr. Mumbi Saraki. This thing of definition, beloveds. Babylon gave themselves the power of definition, thinking that if they defined everything and owned everything physically, they could somehow penetrate spiritually. So what happens is that we come into this world, reincarnating into it, expecting the same experience, and we find a foreign land because it's the same environment, it's the same mountains, it's the same, some of the forests aren't even there anymore, but everything has been redefined, reshaped, remodeled to, and literally cloned into the Babylon system. And you have to go way out in some parts of Africa to just even get back to the way things were. But, that's how it was. They thought they could get that, beloveds, but that doesn't happen. All that has happened is that they have trapped us here because we keep coming and it's foreign, and they've got us, on this hamster wheel where they can take our energy because we're always trying to overstand, for the higher spirit man, you're always trying to interact and overstand, understand, and understand. And that's where we waste our time because we learn all these foreign concepts, this foreign life. And then, we get so far away from ourselves that many of us even disconnect spiritually. And that is where we lose our power and hand it over totally to Babylon. But how can I and I, in my own little private reality, decolonize myself from this kind of control? Because I said, who defines you owns you. So how do we decolonize ourselves from this? I think it's very important that we now start to redefine everything for ourselves. And that starts with our name and with what we think about spiritually. So a lot of the work is here, beloveds, because it's like the mind isn't even here, beloveds, but that's a story for another day. But the mind is an interface between the spiritual realm and the physical realm. And for us to even come back to ourselves, it will be a very long process if you try and do it physically. But if you move spiritually, it will happen in a twinkle of an eye. And it's a continuous process, beloveds. You go from level to level to level to level, there's always another level to get to. And that's the wondrous nature of this reality, our solar melanated planet. So we have to start redefine everything in your life for yourself. Start to see things through your own eyes. I mean, if we were blessed enough to have grown up on the continent and we speak even one local language, that should become the language that you speak in until it's the language that you dream in. Because to dream in a foreign language is just even more mashed up. And we really just have to dial down our lives and move away from the black screen and white screen magic, beloveds, so that we can give ourselves time, even just a little time, to find ourselves. And that is why collectively as well, for the true redemption of our nations, we have to do the difficult work of breaking down these states. They are governing our mental states with the Kenyas and the Zambias and the Zanzibars and the Zimbabwe's of this world, beloveds. That's what it's always been about. They put these leaders in place so that they could govern our mental and control our mental. Government. Control our mental. And then they defined everything. They've defined every single thing, beloveds. What the political system looks like. What's democracy? What's this? What's a dictatorship? Everything is in their world. And then now people's health is defined by their hospitals, their medication, their whatever they're recommending. People's highest level of knowledge is defined by whether you have a PhD, whether you've done this, whether you've done that. Their power lies in the power of definition. So we must start disconnecting ourselves, which means removing ourselves from defining ourselves in any way that is Babylon related. People are even defining their happiness, their relationship, based on what Babylon has told them through romance movies and the telenovelas that just, hit Africa by a storm. So we've given them the power of definition. And we must now ask, are we the selfless generation that will break down all these states and these mental, governors so that we can redefine our nations once more? And maybe it will be a truly united Africa under the power of the rightful rulers. I don't want to get too deep in it, but there is a priesthood, beloveds. They are the rightful rulers. A royal bloodline, a royal priesthood. Because the African spirit is too high to be governed mentally. We need to be guided spiritually. And only the highest level of our spiritual masters, the Christed ones, should be on any throne of power. Anyway, that's definitely a conversation for another day. Until next time, tuko pamoja.